The prototype Yak-53 was derived from the Yak-52, differing in being single-seater designed as an aerobatic trainer. The front cockpit was deleted and the canopy modified to suit. The cockpit used the flying controls of the Yak-50 without the spring overloading of the Yak-52, and the use of the undercarriage and tankage of the prototype Yak-52 to save weight, making the Yak-53 100 kilos lighter than the Yak-52. The prototype Yak-53 set 2 records for time to height in its class in the 15th of February and the 23rd of February 1982. Some sources state that a 3-blade propeller of Western origin was used for these record-setting flights. So if you see the other vids, you can see the images, and the Yak-53 is clearly a derivative of it. Looking at source material, it appears that only one was built. So it's certainly not the most prolific of types, but it's still an interesting little model and makes for a quick build. So this is the unboxing video for the A-Model Yak-53 in 1/72 scale. This is a kit that I've had in my stash for a while. I bought it sort of second hand, I think from Telford or Cosford or somewhere like that a while back. It's all been sat there waiting to be built as a Mojo recovery kit. Now I should explain, in the past I've built the Yak 51 and the Yak 52, and the Yak 53 is basically the single seat tricycle undercarriage version of the Yak 52. So this is fundamentally a kit that I'm very familiar with. Now the particular box is end opening. I don't much like these. I much prefer A-Model's side top opening boxes. So the parts are already out. I put them in my project trays. So let's just take a quick look at what we get and discuss it. So you get 3 sprues in white or grey plastic. That tends to vary a bit. And 1 clear sprue, plus the obligatory decal sheet and instructions. So let's just take a look at this instructions first, and then look over the sprues. So traditional A-Model black and white style, nothing too surprising there. It is a monumentally simple aircraft. The instructions is covered in 3 build phases. Start, guess where? The cockpit. Basic single seat cockpit. No radial engine detail as it's hidden behind the fan. Model that absolutely essentially needs nose weights. So that area in there, and there's luckily plenty of room for it. I would almost go to say care has to be taken not to overload the nose wheel by putting too much weight in, and then you'll have the thing tipping over. So I'm probably going to use my preferred method, which is squished up air rifle pellets. I bought this especially for model making. For this kind of thing, you can squash them up and then super glue them in place, and it works very well. So interior, fairly simple to do. Cockpit can do with a little bit of dressing up, but not too much. It's not exactly a large aperture. You certainly need to add seat belts to this. The representation of the canopy there is far better than what actually comes with the kit. Then undercarriage going on, relatively simple arrangement with the undercarriage. The nose wheel is a 1-piece affair, and the main wheels are both 2-piece affairs. Then fairly detailed decaling, and I think that's really almost the biggest part of this particular kit, apart from the sanding and filling. So we'll take a quick look at the decal sheet. There's only really decals for the one version, with bolt number 06, but in researching this aircraft, there do appear to be other ID numbers. Well, they got 116 and 06. I like it that they have the aircraft's ID, so if you're going to put it on a flight stand or display base, you've got that there, which is always a nice touch. Yeah, and a fairly decent decal sheet. One good thing is having the stripes on the tail. Now on this one, I painted, those were painted and were absolute nightmare to mask up. And on this one, they were the decal, which is far less stressful. These can be hit or miss. I have found that some A-model decals go down very well, minimal issues. Other ones I've had just disintegrate on me. And you never quite know what you're going to get. These look like a later print because it's quite a big sheet. They often really squash up their decals on there. So I'm kind of hoping that these decals will be one of the better ones. Because it's a sports aircraft, it's quite colourful. I'm just trying to remember whether this one I think had decals, and I think this one the markings were painted for the stripes, that is. So it's you're never quite sure what's going to happen with these with A-model decals. So let's just take a quick look at the sprues. Yeah, now this is the usual small A-model sprues. You get I don't know how well you can see that. It's usual small A-model sprues. Recessed panel lines, quite finely recessed as well. And in all fairness to this one, not that much flash. It's quite flash free, which probably means this particular one was done early in the production run. Interestingly enough, that it does have the two seats, which this would be the standard fuselage sprue for a number of different versions of this aircraft. And the standard wing sprue. Again, fuselage, a little bit of side console detail, the fairing to go over the front there, a couple of prop options, the fan in front of the radial engine. The wheels do have some flash and appear to be a little bit misaligned, but that cleans up okay. The upper wing and the tailplane and the cockpit floor, again, nice recessed panel lines, reasonably fine detail, certainly reflects I believe the fabric covered ailerons. So nothing too remarkable there. The main challenge with this kit is going to be the canopy, which for some reason they've done it in two pieces, and quite frankly the molding quality is painfully soft. You're certainly going to be struggling with this canopy to see. I'm going to be struggling to see the canopy frame line, so that's going to have to take quite a lot of masking, added to the fact that they've done it in two pieces, which I think is more for a molding issue, even though when it slides open, the rear portion remains attached, or it doesn't move. So even that is a bit off. Now I can see under the right light the split, well, the frame lines. So these may come out, but I can certainly see masking this is going to be challenging. and getting a nice sharp line here, because it feels that these forms are quite soft. So putting the canopy in a separate bag so I don't lose it, otherwise you're going to have to create a tarpaulin cover for the aircraft. So I think for me, as a little bit of a mojo recovery kit, it's absolutely great. I would say it has all the traditional aspects of an A-model kit, and partly why I enjoy building them. I know it'll come out with something very similar to this particular aircraft, just a slightly different variant. I think they're great little looking sports aircraft. I think it's an aircraft well worth researching, and there are kits in other scales of this. I believe somebody like Trumpeter or Eastern Express does this in 1/48 scale, at least the two-seater trainer version, because it's all over the place as an aircraft go. You may find a 1/48 single-seater somewhere, I'm not so sure about that. So that's the Yak-53, and the next video about this aircraft will be the build video. This is a quick update on the Yak-53. Very simple interior. Probably put a little bit too much of lead air rifle pellets that can also then chopped up and secured with super glue. So that's that area there. Just make sure it sits properly. Just painted it into cockpit with Revell light blue. Added some seat belts, stuffed up the instrument panel decal, so I ended up just painting it black. Really not that much to it. I'm sure there might be a photo etch set somewhere for it to add some internal structure to the fuselage, but you know, you're not going to see much. Not exactly a large gaping cockpit opening, considering all that's going to be fed over anyway. So this is where we're at. The fuselage halves certainly do need a little bit of tidying up, and there's going to be clearly some seam filling. But overall, it doesn't go together too badly. No what I would call significant issues, and it's certainly not what I'd classify as a significant A-model pig. So that's where we are. A little update. Running quite well. I'm happy, and it's nice, turning out to be a nice quick build, which is what I was looking for. There we are. Another little project update. The Yak-53 is coming together quite well, as can be anticipated with any A-model kit. It is a filler queen, or in this case a little filler queen, a little filler princess, given its small, diminutive size. So pretty much all the major seams have had to have that attention. Fitting of the cowling, or the cover over the forward cockpit, was pretty awful, and that's where there's been quite a significant amount of work, and I'll have to do some rescribing around there. So basically all the main joints that you can anticipate that need filler needed filler. Using the Revell putty, and holes had to be opened up to accommodate the horizontal flanks of tailplane. And that's really it. I'm quite happy with the way it's going together. I'll have to run some filler and tidying up along the leading edge. That's something too easy to forget there. Sand that, fill it, and then we'll be on the way. Colour scheme calls for red undersurfaces, white upper surfaces, and then a fair amount is addressed by the decals. Unfortunately, one thing that isn't is a rather awkward masking along there. So that's going to require a little bit of attention to do that. And we are presented here with two options. I think either a 1980s scheme or a 1990s scheme. I'm not yet sure which of the two I'm going to go for. They are very similar except for the board number. I think I prefer Red 06 with the tail stripes. That'll tie up quite nicely with the others. So that'll probably be done. So there we are. That's how we're progressing. So here we are with the Yak-53. I'm quite happy with the way it's going. Filling and sanding has been a bit of a job, as you can imagine, being an A-model kit. So got it down with a dark grey than a medium grey. When I got the dark grey on, I had to do more filling and sanding, particularly around here. I then let it cure for a day, overnight, before I put the white on. Did white all over. I then let that cure overnight and put on the red, and I've just done the red today. So I masked the upper surfaces, it's only the lower surfaces, and the front cooling fan. Quite happy with the way this has gone on. Made a bit of a balls up here with the canopy. Now with my masking I should have had one line here with a faint kind of split line, but somehow I managed to create two lines. But as this actually has like a forward portion here, painted that bit in by hand, and it sort of created a quarter light here. Now I could try and scrape this off, but I think I'll risk that ending up looking a bit of a mess, so I'm going to leave it. It's not perfect, it could be, but it could be a darn sight worse. So yeah, bit of an odd one that. It's the frame definition on the canopy is practically non-existent. So I'm reasonably happy with the way it's going. There's plenty of nose weight in, so it'll sit hopefully right. Next thing I'm going to do is seal this thing up with a layer of Tamiya semi-gloss clear. I want to get this stuff down on there before the decals go on. Because it's a sport aircraft, it's going to be well looked after. It's not really, you know, if you're chucking it around the sky, you're going to keep this thing clean. It's a privately owned aircraft, so it's not going to get the same conditions as military use. And I now realise I might have even left little red stains. Oh shit, that's from my fingers there. Or a little bit of overspray, but very, very faint. And once I get the stripes and markings on, that'll be even further hidden. So I'm not, a lot of that's going to be obscured by the stripe, so I'm not overly worried there. Actually, thinking about this, God, there's this leading edge feature here that I'm going to have to work out how I'm going to mask that up and paint that on. That's going to be masked up, and I'm going to overpaint it white before painting it red, which is going to be a bit of a pain in the backside. I wish that was a decal, but I can still see that creating problems. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I might have to mask that up first. Yeah, okay, so there's that bit to do. So that's where we are. I'm reasonably happy with the way this is going. It's looking like what it's meant to be. It'll be a model that's hopefully ready by the weekend. Not sure what I'm going to pick up off the shelf to build next. I've got a fairly clear weekend, so I may actually have a crack at a weekend build. So whatever I'm building next isn't going to be the biggest or the most complicated of kits. Oh, and there's so many I can just reach out and grab and have a go at. It's going to be another simple, fairly simple one. Just not quite sure what it's going to be yet. Anyway, this is where we are, having fun with it, liking the way it's looking, and on to the next one. This is the completed Yak-53, the little A-model kit. This one, and oh, what can be said? Now, A-Model remain probably my favourite kit manufacturer because of the subject matter they do. I love the subjects. But this little beastie has really been a challenge. And top of the line list is the decals. The decals on this have been simply appalling. So I've ended up painting in the red stripes on the top surfaces of the wing. The tail stripes I wanted to put on just disintegrated, and I really didn't fancy going through the headaches of painting them, so I put the Russian Federation flag on instead. The stripe down the side of the fuselage, that on this side disintegrated, so I ended up cutting out a section and putting the number on the side. That section for some reason stayed together, but just to get it to match the other side I ended up cutting out a section, putting the number in. The anti-glare panel on the top actually stayed in one piece. The red stars stayed in one piece, as did the little Yak-53 decal there. Overall, as I said, it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the decals. I did drop a bollock here on the canopy, and I inadvertently put in 2 lines on the front here, which I only realised that after I'd sprayed it, and I was like, oh bollocks, but it's there. It's however it looks, so not entirely chuffed about that, but it is what it is. Some people will notice it, some people won't. I can't scrape off that because when I was cutting the masking tape, I did rather engrave the line there. Now, despite all the nose weight I put in this thing, it still sits way too easily, and that is because of the spacing on the undercarriage. Now, I shortened the front leg a little bit, but it is still very easy to tip onto its back. So, I wish I could say I'm happy with it. It looks like what it's supposed to be. It's a Yak-53. Goes on a shelf. It'll fit into that body of work, but really not the best build to start the year with, but it's an acceptable representation of a Yak-53. And yeah, you can see this side, the fuselage stripe isn't exactly straight. The other side's a little bit better, but if you display it, you're going to be looking at it from this side, which does look somewhat better. So that's where we are. Still a nice little aircraft, still a nice kind of subject I really do like. And has its place within the collection. I'd build another one. If I saw another one out, I would get it to build it and have another go. That's where we're at. It's there, it's done, but it's certainly far from my best work. My Yak 50 and 52 are better builds in my mind than my Yak 53, but it has its place on the shelf. So That's the Yak-53 completed. A small kit that elicited too much frustration for its size.